Good evening, I'm Rick Ritter. Almost 2 years later, and Ellicott City is underwater again. This was the scene there earlier this morning as moving floodwaters rushed down the streets, taking anything in its path. You can see how high this water got as it covered wheels of cars. And in other parts of the city, you can see mounds of debris being washed away. WJZ team coverage tonight of this storm. Devin Bartolotta and Kimberly Eaton are both live in Ellicott City. Let's start with Devin, who had a first-hand look at the destruction. Devin.
Rick, the rain here has stopped, but the scope of the devastation here is just being realized as crews start to clear out roadways so cleanup can begin. An iconic bridge now blocked off with caution tape and mountains of debris. Ellicott City walloped by unbelievable flash flooding for the second time in as many years.
It's indescribable, it really was.
I don't think I'm, without exaggeration, saying that this is worse than July 30th of 2016. I can just tell you my heart is broken.
In Old Ellicott City, which sits in a gully, 8 inches of rain in a few hours turned the street into a raging river. In some cases, water reached as high as the 2nd floor, stranding many seeking higher ground.
I actually know a lot of people that work down here, and a lot of them were trapped on like the 2nd and 3rd story floors because they couldn't get out.
The bursting Patapsco River took with it furniture, mannequins, walls from buildings upstream, even cars.
We went into the studio, looked out the windows, and we saw a white vehicle go down, hood under, brake lights on.
Business owners returning to Main Street to check on their livelihoods are already devastated by what lies ahead.
We just went through this a year ago, and we have to go through it again. And you can see the staircase is completely wiped out.
A terrifying night for a city desperate to start rebuilding yet again. Governor Hogan was here earlier as well, assessing some of the damage. No injuries or deaths have been reported so far. That's all from Ellicott City. Now back to you, Rick.
Devin, thank you. Let's go live out to Kimberly Eaton with more on the locals who are now being forced to rebuild for the 2nd time in less than 2 years. Kim.
And Rick, at this point, some of those locals can't even get to their shops and homes on Main Street. Police have shut it down, effectively a disaster zone at this point. But even out here on some of the side streets, you can see just the absolute destruction from this flooding. Piles of debris just sitting here in the roads. And off to our left, which you can't see, there are cars that were washed away in some of these flooding, now wrecked into trees and sitting abandoned. Tonight, so many people asking, what now? Under the glow of police lights, first responders walked through the wreckage of Main Street Sunday night, where just hours earlier the pavement was invisible beneath waves of brown water. A destructive and devastating deja vu for the small business owners who make their living here, like Kelly Myers.
And that's when we realized that the water was coming too fast down this one street.
She raced against the rain to check on the employees in her 2 shops. Myers didn't make it that far. Rescuers brought her back to dry land, safe but shocked.
I can't believe I'm sitting here watching the water and it's still flowing and flowing.
Washing away cars, windows, walls, filling the 1st floor of businesses, some with banners still promoting the comeback from the last storm.
The whole lower level is underwater again.
As quickly as the rain poured down, Howard County Executive Alan Kittleman says so will the support.
And to see this happen to them again is heartbreaking. I don't have a word for them right now. I don't know what I would tell them.
He's promising help from both the state and county level. But some business owners say their storefronts may stay empty.
I don't know if I'll be able to come back. I don't know if I will come back.
And Myers told us tonight she doesn't have flood insurance. In fact, she's still paying back loans from the 2016 floods. And she says her situation here is not uncommon. Rick?
Kim, I know you were able to walk down Main Street and take a look at some of the damage. Can you take us through that before they close the area off?
Yeah, and Rick, we were just there very briefly because, of course, the priority is making space for the crews there to work tonight. We've seen police, we've seen fire, we've seen electric crews working down there. And what I can tell you is that just briefly being on Main Street, we are looking at destruction from top to bottom. You have to look at the road beneath you because it's just covered in rubble. In fact, I saw some of those first responders tripping even as their flashlights were kind of pointing around, just trying to shine some light on some of the damage here as they start to assess what comes now. And you can see the windows are broken out. Cars that were washed away are just parked there in the street. Really not the Ellicott City, the charming Main Street that we know and love.
Just gut-wrenching for these residents and especially the business owners. One other thing I want to ask you that you touched on a little bit. Some are certainly questioning whether or not they will rebuild at all, obviously after last time, but then again, simply they can't afford it.
No, Rick, they really can't. I mean, like I said, we talked to some of those business owners who say they have had to take out loans after the 2016 flood in order to rebuild from that. They say they don't have flood insurance, and they're not sure what they're going to do now. And the state is promising help, the county's promising help, but of course they haven't started assessing the damage yet. Will that help be enough? We just don't know. So store owners tell us at this point they're just trying to get kind of back in there and look at some of the damage. They say after the 2016 floods, they were allowed to go back in and take a few things out of stores, out of homes for the people who lived there before Main Street was essentially shut down for months and months. And at this point, that they say that's all they can hope for, that they can go back in and get a few of those items out, Rick.
Heartbreaking. Kim, thank you so much.